Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Can I do the hand thing?
Sure.
Okay, let's do the hand thing.
You're raising a hand so everyone shuts up.
Yeah. Does this work?
Yes.
Okay, it's a new toy for me. Sorry.
Okay, so this is building blocks for effective retrospectives. Are you in the right room? Excellent. Preferably be seated around a table, otherwise you won't get to play with the building blocks. Yes. Here we go. Good job. Excellent.
Okay, I am Jay. I work at Jumo as a Scrum Master. I love gaming. I spend an unnatural amount of time playing games. And I also really love Lego, and retrospectives, actually. So that was part of the reason why I'm doing this with Sam today.
And I'm Sam Laing. I work at Growing Agile. I love dogs. I'm not a dog, but I have 5 of them. And I have a cat. I like animals. And that's about it. Oh, and we're both from Cape Town.
Yeah.
It's important.
So just one more thing before I touch on this. That's okay. I just wanted to mention the safe space. So we will be talking about retrospectives, your experience of it. So please don't share information from other companies if it does come out of your table.
Or tweet it.
Or tweet it.
You can tweet, just not about certain information.
Cool. Thanks.
Twitter handles at the bottom of the slides. I'm not sure if all of you can see them at the back there. And the hashtag is #AgileAfrica. Okay.
Okay, so for today, we really want you to walk away with what makes a good retrospective. And we're going to be doing that by having you participate in a retro through the session. And then by the end of it, we will summarize all the stages or the steps of a retrospective. So we'll do activities first and then a summary at the end.
But first of all, let's get a feel for who's in the room. So, hands up if you've never, ever had a retrospective in your life. Excellent. The first part might be a bit confusing, but we will cover that by the end. Hands up if you've attended many, many retrospectives. Lovely. Hands up if you find retrospectives boring. Thank you for being honest. There we go. Hands up if you find them exciting and invigorating.
That's
Yay. Hopefully there'll be more by the end of this session. Question? Anything?
No, not right now.
Nothing? Hands up if you're from Joburg. Hands up if you're not from Joburg. No, but then you're from Joburg. Hands up if you don't live in Joburg. There we go.
Why do you seem so confused?
Oh my God, people. Do you have a car in the near vicinity or travel on the Gautrain regularly? Are you in this province? This is why we struggle with retrospectives. Sure. Okay.
Please join a table because you're going to get to play with some fun stuff.
There are seats in the front.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
The front tables, they don't bite. They are confused about where they live. Okay, we're going to start with the little activity. So you've all got a piece of paper at your tables. Can you unflip that?
Oh, yeah.
What we want you to do is on the piece of paper on your table, write down those 2 words, frustrates and energizes. And we want you to write down in each of the columns everything that frustrates you about retrospectives and everything that energizes you about retrospectives. If you've never experienced a retro, just listen. If you've experienced many, please be as honest as possible and tell your stories so that people understand why things are frustrating and why they energize you. We're going to give you 10 minutes, so take your time.
Oh, thanks. Works every time. Does anybody want to share what energized or frustrated them?
Shout.
So one of the big frustrations in our team was everything around engagement. So if people are not engaged, they're not giving opinions, they're not participating.
Hands up if anyone else had that. Yay.
And I think you guys had a comment?
So the other one is not sticking to the retro agreements. After we agree in the retrospective, you go back and work and find out the team, they are not sticking up to those agreements. The Scrum Master needed to always remind them to say, guys, don't forget, these were the agreements that we agreed upon, but they are not practicing them.
Okay, anyone else have that problem? Yeah, actions usually. Anything that energized anyone? Trying to swing it to the positive here.
Icebreakers really do well to energize the group, especially
Cool. Anyone else have icebreakers that energize? Excellent. Huh?
Can we add it now?
You can. Yes?
A relaxed location, in case anybody didn't hear it.
Relaxed, neutral location. That is not relaxed or neutral. But nice try. Yes?
Honesty and transparency.
Helps.
When the team is honest and transparent. It energizes.
Okay. Anyone else think that? If the team's honest and transparent, it's energizing? A few people think that's true.
On the flip side to that, they will be honest during the retrospective, but come out of it, that's my experience, and they don't hold each other accountable into the team.
No accountability after the retro? Anyone have that problem? All those people that said, yeah. Who writes down the actions? The Scrum Master. Well, then the Scrum Master should do them. It's okay, we'll get to that later.
Yeah. Cool. So we're just moving on to the next section, which is the Lego fun. Just one second.
Okay, so Lego pieces are very hard to lose. Please try and keep them on the table, really tiny tables. Easy to
Okay, what we want you to do in your table groups is you are going to build what a great retrospective looks like. You're going to have 15 minutes. You are only allowed to build one thing, so this is not something per person. Together at your table, what does a good retrospective look like?
Yeah.
use every single piece.
Okay, so you've each got a flip chart folded in half somewhere near your table. We want you to keep it folded in half so that it's small and fits on the table. And we want you to write down your 3 to 5 insights that you gained from your Lego creation on what makes a great retrospective. Write it nice and big, make it pretty, make it colorful. After this, other tables are going to come around and judge your creation. So don't play with the Lego, just think about the insights that you had. What makes a great retrospective?
Cool. So now we just want you to like get up and walk around and see what everybody else has done.
Try not to break other people's Lego creation masterpieces. Okay. On your tables, you'll see there's a little pile of Postit Notes. Everyone grab one Postit Note, just one. And we want you to write down one idea that you've had since you've been here to take away and a date of when you want to try this idea out. Any idea?
No,
Here is in this session for the last 40 or so minutes. Share with a neighbor. So tell your neighbor what it is you want to try and by when you want to try it.
But I must remind you that
After you've done your thing. Okay.
Cool. So now we're going to take you through the 5 stages of a retrospective. And we'll kind of explain which activities that you've done that were part of the stages. So we have open or check-in. We have gathering data. Third step is generate insights. Fourth is decide what to do or action. And the last one is close. Do you want to talk about the...
Has anyone here read the book Agile Retrospectives by Esther Darby and Diana Larson? No? It's kind of like the Bible of Agile Retrospectives. It's filled with tons of different techniques for each of these 5 stages. We are going to cover each stage now in a bit more detail. But if you're looking for what to do at each step, I recommend that book. It's written at the bottom here, Esther Darby and Diana Larson. We will publish all these slides. In fact, they should be live if you follow. If you go look at Twitter, they should already have been published. Okay, so step 1.
Yeah, so step 1 is the open or check-in. And this is kind of the section where you set the stage for the retrospective. So I like to, for example, tell my team we're reflecting on the last 2 weeks because that is our cycle. And you also want to have the kind of activity that gets everyone talking in the first 5 minutes. I think it was actually Sam and Karen that taught me that if you get somebody talking in the first 5 minutes, that they're more likely to speak later on in the retrospective. So just an activity to get everyone talking or engaged in coming to the room. And so today we did a check-in by having you fill out the posters on the wall with the questions. You want to add about?
So I do want to add, there was a lot of mention about icebreakers. So icebreakers can be used for good or for evil. If you're doing an icebreaker, please use it for good, in that it should be related to your retrospective. So all the posters around the wall kind of relate to the topic and put you in the right frame of mind for the next hour. Don't have an icebreaker that's got to do with, I don't know, ice cream flavors, and then your retro is about how your build tanked. So think about your icebreakers and use them appropriately. Next up is gather data. So this is about the truth. It's about the facts. We don't want emotions here. We don't want people crying and screaming. We just want the facts. Some common techniques used here are timelines, what happened on what day, and you try and keep people out of the weeds of emotions. What are the facts? What happened? What we did here was the poster that energizes and frustrates. So we got you all to write down what energizes you about retrospectives and what frustrates you. You might have had emotion attached to your story, but because you were all strangers, it actually was just put down on your table as facts. These are what energize us and these are what frustrates us.
So the next one is generate insights, and this is more of the why. Like, so you've gathered all this data, and now you're trying to discover why those things are happening. And I guess, yeah, digging to the root cause. So understanding exactly what happened and why. We did this with creating the insights poster. So we let you build the little Lego models and then asked you to generate some insights on that model and what you thought made a good retrospective. Yeah.
Hands up, who goes to retros and the same thing comes up every single time? Yes? So the reason why that happens is because you are not getting to the root cause. So if I keep walking into this chair and the action from my retro is to buy Band-Aids, I'm not going to stop walking into the chair. The next retro, I'm going to have buy more Band-Aids. Buy more Band-Aids. At some point, someone's got to dig deep enough to move the chair. Okay, so you've really, if something's coming up, if you're a Scrum Master and something's coming up a second time or a third time, you are not digging deep enough. Dig more.
Okay. So the fourth is the action. So once you've tried to dig to the root cause of why things are happening, the action is kind of like something that as a team you can do to improve together. And so Sam kind of made the joke earlier about if the Scrum Master is writing it down, then the Scrum Master should implement it. And that is commonly how it goes. It's like, the Scrum Master, can you just fix this in the next retrospective? But it should be a team improvement, so something that they can achieve. And also sort of like a commitment of when they want to start implementing this change, which is kind of what we asked you in your takeaway item.
So remember, you do it, you own it. So if you're writing it down, you are more likely to own it and do it. If as a Scrum Master you feel the need to write it down, I really hope you feel the need to also do it. If you don't, stop doing it. Okay, let your team write down their own actions. And stop making beauty queen statements. A beauty queen statement is, I'd like world peace. And in retrospectives, it's, we're going to communicate better. Better communication. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. What does that mean? You're going to talk more. Excellent. Are you going to shout at each other? Are you going to go hi across the corridor? Is that a tick? What does talk more mean? What does better communication mean? So who's going to check up on the better communication? When are you going to check on it? in which meetings are we communicating better? Is it in meetings? Is it outside of meetings? Are we having more coffee? What are we doing? So really get precise and specific, concrete actions. And also one action.
Yes.
Okay, one. I know it's hard. If you want to do the others, do them, but you only write down one and you only focus on one. You know that little Scrum value, focus? Yes. That poster doesn't want to be on the wall.
I know.
Close.
Okay. So at the end of the retrospective, it's a great thing to thank people for their time and participation, and also to get feedback on your retro. What are things that you can change for the team? So this for us will be, there's a poster on the back of the door, and so as you leave, please give us feedback, write it on a sticky note. What do you think was great about the session? What you thought was not? But also, thank you for your participation. Your Lego stuff was just like so awesome and surprising.
So we're not 100% done yet, so I'm also going to say thank you. So thank you. Round of applause. Well done. Lego creation's great. But yes, any questions? Yes.
I also written on our what? Can you explain to me the difference between the review and a retro? Because, or is it different words?
Do you want like the official Scrum definition? Okay, official definition. The review is where you show your product owner what you've actually completed, what is done in the last sprint, and you get feedback. So the review is all about getting feedback on what you've just built.
Okay.
Yeah? Yes, you built that. That's exactly what I asked for. Now that I see it, that is so not what I want. That's your review. Some people call it a demo. It is not about demo. It is about feedback. Inspect and adapt, that little cycle thing. The retrospective is about you as a team and improving how you work. So it's about you as a team are here, and we want you to be here. So what is a step we can take to get to here? So that's why the whole retrospective is designed around helping you uncover, dig deeper, and become better as a team. Yeah? Your voices are loud enough, but they're not loud enough for the video recorder.
All right. So my question is, okay, now we've gone through the process of how to do the improvement or how to go through the motions and all of that. How do you decide beforehand what to do it about? So I've, for example, got a team that seems to be working really well together, and if we come up and ask them, what issues do you have, or try and do icebreakers that lead to some kind of mind switch that says, oh yes, I've got this issue, nothing really comes up.
Could you have a retro on why are you such a good team? What are the things you do that actually works well? Because a lot of times things are going well accidentally, not by design. Jay, any thoughts?
I agree with that. I think sometimes we try to like focus on like how can we improve without acknowledging like how are we doing things really well. So for sure, I don't know. I think also just to add, like sometimes we shouldn't come to the retrospective with our intentions of what we want the team to uncover, and you should just like do the thing and it will come. I guess.
Right. So how do you I don't know if I'm audible. How do you make sure that it doesn't become a blame game when you state something objectively? Like, let's say John was late for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Objective statement. How do you now stop it from John being like, well, I was late because blah, 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 and then it becomes this...
Okay. I was at Agile 2017 last week, and I heard a great comment. Any sentence that you say, if you could add the word "you idiot" onto the back of it, you should probably rephrase what you just said. So think about it. John was late on Wednesday, you idiot. John, you were late on Wednesday. You idiot! So think about it. Think about what you could say differently. But honestly, it's about also educating your team in soft skills. Especially in IT, we're not really good at this communication thing. We're not. We're better at typing into instant messenger, which is really sad. So educate your team in talking to each other and in listening to each other and in not reacting off the bat, but rather to just take it in and sit there and receive it. They don't have to respond to everything.
Instead of saying John was late on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you could say, John, when you were late on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the impact on me was, and rather give him impact feedback than just blaming him for being late.
You can just Google that term, impact feedback, and you will find what Yogini's talking about.
How's it? Do you have any specific tips for running a retro when the team's not all co-located and somebody is on the other side of a camera?
So that's a difficult one. So what I've done in my own experience, I don't even know if it's the right way, we'll see, is I have everybody experience the retro the same way. So even if we are 3 people in Cape Town, 2 people in Kenya, we all dial into the call. I also make an effort to be like well prepared. So because you don't have the luxury of reading the room, for example, I've put steps in place to back that up. So always asking the people on the other side, like, are you still okay? Can you still hear us? There's like conference call bingo or something. But also using tools that can make that easier. So like, for example, there's a lot of free Google tools that you can use, like Google Draw, where everybody can log in, and not log in, they can just click on the link and like interact, and you can see in real time what people are doing. Yeah, I don't know.
Something else we've used is if you have a lean coffee style retrospective, you can use Trello. There are upvote add-ons that you can add on for free to do the voting. Definitely same experience for all. Don't have a retro where everyone's sitting around the table except for the one lonely soul in India who you forget to dial in until it's halfway through, and then you don't realize that they've actually dropped the call. That's not really a safe space. You all built very safe, transparent places. So, yeah, as Jay said, same experience for everyone is key. And prepare. Whatever you think you need to prepare for an in-person retro, a distributed retro requires 5 times as much work.
Yeah, definitely.
All the online tools you're going to use, your disaster plan for when you think you're going to use Skype and Skype's not working, and then you have to use Zoom and Zoom's not working, and then you're going to use WebEx, and then you're going to phone each other. All of that crap needs to be sorted out. Other questions?
As a Scrum Master, now that you have actions that you need to actually raise, now the difficulty is I'm working for a bank and there's a lot of red tape. So sometimes our action points are that we need to get screens, maybe better big screens, but that's not feasible in our world. It doesn't really just happen like that. How is it best that I can relay to the team to say the action point has been raised, it's just it won't happen?
So
what's the tip
thank
there?
you for bringing that up, because we actually didn't mention that. The action that the team comes up with has to be within the control of the team. So if the team brings up they need bigger screens, excellent, great. As a Scrum Master, note that down and get cracking on that, but that is not the team's action. They need to come up with their own action, because the retro is for them to improve as a team. So it needs to be something within their control. That's just a side thing that you're going to dig into.
Yes.
Accountability.
One, I'm not sure if it is my last question, but another one was, how do you manage having introverts and extroverts during the retro? Like, so one person doesn't overwhelm the others, like the extro doesn't overwhelm the intros.
in my experience, I try to design activities that allow for both. So that allows quiet time for them to write by themselves and then also time for them to speak. But I also, like, I saw this keynote by Gita last year at Scrum Gathering, and she said sometimes there are introverts that just don't want to engage, and that's also okay. You obviously want to get them to talk, but if they're really like in their own space, just let them be and let them come when it's comfortable for them.
It also boils down to trust and how much trust you have in your team. So if you are a Scrum Master, your number one thing is to build trust. So I'll tell you a story of a team I once had. I was brand new to this whole Scrum Master thing. I arrived and I had this team and I'd been there 3 days and it was time for the retrospective, and I walked into the room and two of the guys, can I use that mic? Yeah. Two of the guys grabbed their chairs, pulled them over to the wall, and sat like this. And I was like, what the fuck's going on here? I don't really understand. I was like, is this how you usually have retros? No, we don't believe in this crap. We're not doing it. In a discussion. I was like, okay. So I cancelled that retro. I went home and I made 3 cards for each person in the team. One with a happy face, one with a meh face, and one with a sad face. And in 2 weeks' time when we had our retro, I said to them, you can either not come to the retro, that's fine. But if you do come, you have to sit at the table, but you don't have to talk. So they came. I gave everyone 3 cards. In the whole retro, no one said a word. They just had to push the card forward for whatever question was being asked. Sounds painful, huh? Yeah, it was. The next retro, a few people spoke. The third retro, we could get rid of the cards. Everyone was speaking. So sometimes you've just got to slow down.
What are some of the questions that you asked?
I have no clue. It was like 7 years ago. I really can't remember. I just remember painfully making the cards with dog hair.
More of a comment on that point than a question is what I've done before. If I find people that are not actually interested in talking in an open forum, I had a box on my table with stickies so they can put their ideas in there, and then I'll ask the question or raise the point in the retro itself. And then eventually they come to a point where, okay, now they can start talking and they get more comfortable than being the one asking the stupid question to start off with. So that does work as well.
Perfect. Do you have something? Don't worry, we will end early. You will have time to get coffee and cakes and lunch and all of that.
It's maybe a bit of a silly question, but is it okay if you've got like a small, comfortable team to just do a casual coffee session as a retro?
I would say as long as you're inspecting and adapting, yes. I would be concerned. I would check in that you are digging deep enough. But otherwise, I think that's fine.
What would be a Scrum Master's responsibility within the retro?
Facilitate. That's. I think, yeah. So you have to facilitate the space, right? You have to make sure that everybody's safe, feeling comfortable. Also, that you are, as Sam said, digging deep enough to implement or decide on a change. But other than that,
you know those things you wrote down. All of those things. Making sure it's transparent. Making sure there's a solid team foundation, that there's team collaboration, that it's a safe space, that your boss isn't in the room and taking notes for your next increase. All of that.
Last one. What the PO? Should he be in the retro or not? Because ours kind of is there sometimes. We don't mind. But I feel sometimes I would like him to be there because it shows interest in in what's going on. But I don't know, maybe it's a team thing about like just the devs. What's
I
your
don't
take
know,
on
that's
it?
nice and itchy scratchy. Let's take a room poll. Hands up if you think your PO should be in the retro. Hands up if you think your PO should not be in the retro. It's okay, you can be brave. Okay, hands up for those of you who want to it depends this. Aye, agile coaches in the making. Don't say it depends.
No. I almost was going to say it depends. But I also, like, recently, I tend to want to encourage the team to involve the product owner, because technically the product owner is part of the team. And I think that there's this really weird thing that happened where somehow the product owner became the enemy. And I feel like if the product owner is the enemy, like, how do you effectively communicate? It's weird. And so, well, that's just my opinion. I prefer the product owner to be vulnerable with the team.
Yo, now the hands are up. Off you go.
I don't know what's fun.
So I just want to add to that. So when we started including our product owner into our retrospectives, the product owner started understanding more of the team, and there was actually a lot more fluent, like, working around, and so it actually made a big difference to just include them.
Okay, so I think it really does depend, because in my situation, there was the product owner that was previously part of the team, was the developer, later became the product owner. And when she was included in the retro, she started telling the team what to do. And that's when it becomes awkward. It's like, no, product owner, the team decides. The team decides. But in other situations, where the product owner was completely not previously part of the team, to have him sit in and listen, that it really did help, so that he could understand the team's difficulties and stuff. So yeah, for me, it really does just depend.
I think it was there, and then I'll come back to you.
You're doing an excellent job, Jay.
What happens in a situation where the manager of a team is actually an active participant in the team, in the tasks and stuff? So how do you handle that? I mean, I'm thinking, would the Scrum Master need to talk to the manager beforehand to, I don't know, prep him?
Is it a problem?
No, well, I guess that the manager gets along very well with the team.
Not a problem, not a problem. If it's a problem, have a conversation.
I was just going to ask if it is a problem, you know, like if it's someone who can fire them, like, and because of that, there's this apprehension of, like, you realize that anything that you communicate could be seen as, like, evidence for termination. Like, oh, John was late. Was he now?
You idiot. I would have that conversation.
So I was in the it depends crowd, because I kind of agree that the PO should be in the room mainly from like them being involved typically does improve things. But at the same time, I believe in listening to the team's desires. So I asked them and they were like, hell no. And mainly because like maybe our setup is different to other people, but we go in as consultants. We now have a team based of like 3 different vendors from across the world. And the product owner is the client. Scary monster person. And he's actually not bad, but they just didn't want to involve them. So how do you maybe start wrapping their heads around just giving it a chance? Because I do think it actually would help.
So that one and the manager one, I would suggest something similar. Every 3rd retrospective, invite them and have the theme of that retro be about building that relationship. So how can we build a better relationship with your end game being that they can always attend and that it's a harmonious, peaceful environment. But don't just never have them there, because then you're actually just, you know that wall Trump wants to build? Yeah, you're helping build it.
Sorry, we're having a conversation now as opposed to a question and answer. But so another sort of flip side is we've also found it really difficult to get the product owner over time to sort of wrap their heads around how important it is to attend the other sessions. And we've just barely got them there, and then like they already feel bombarded by all these invites and all these things that they have to spend 4 hours in. How do you wrap their heads around now another one that, you know, and I mean, I know the value in it and I know it will help, but how do you kind of guide them through that thinking?
Do you want to answer?
So, funnily enough, in my current team, we have dev managers, which I know is not a Scrum thing, but our dev manager is part of our retrospectives. And that was something that I checked in with the team beforehand. I was like, are you okay to have him in? He's your manager. And they were like, no, it's chill. He's a good guy, whatever. So we don't have the product owner yet. So that's something that I would like to work on. But myself, the dev manager, and the product owner have a weekly like powwow where we just like sort of check in and explain what's going on with the team. And I also use it as the session to like sort of explain like from my point of view like what I'm trying to achieve. And so like in retrospectives, these are the themes that are coming up. And then eventually like brainwashing her to eventually join.
Okay, so I'm going to call it there. If you want to ask us questions, just come afterwards. We're going to be right here because we have to tidy up all the Lego and stuff. Please grab Postit Notes and write down some feedback for us. Above the feedback thing, things you enjoyed. Below the feedback thing, things you think could be improved or done better. You don't have to put your name on it. It can be anonymous. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.